all the people, man. First of all, I'd like to thank y'all. We got over 27,000 views on YouTube. So thank y'all, Facebook family and YouTube family. But right now, you know, I got a legend with me. You know, and it's so funny because all the legends I do, they older than me. But now I got a legend that's younger than me. And he not only was the first young and still have a record for the youngest DJ, our personality, to have his own radio show at the age of 16 while he was still in high school. Now, Gene, how did this happen, man? How did you get your own show at 16 years old and people still going to junior high school and high school? You know, and you working with all them old school guys, old enough to be your daddy. Tell me that.
It's a funny thing because I have had guys come up to me and say, Gene, I was scared to raise my hand in the 12th grade to answer a question in class, and you got your own radio show. How did you do that? Well, first of all, you got to have the desire, and you have to know that this is what you want to do. I knew I could do this, and I wanted to do this. I was good at watching a baseball game or a football game and turning down the volume on my television and doing the commentary myself. That's how bad I would practice, and these are the type of drills I would put myself through. Just, nobody told me to, just because I wanted to. But I never did think I'd get a radio show so early. The way it happened was, everybody has somebody that teaches them. And my idol in radio at that time was a guy out of Cleveland, Ohio named Mike Payne. He was known as Mike the Lover. And as you know, Robert, everybody in those days had a handle. You were Mike the Lover, or you were, Wild Child, or you were Skipper Lee.
Right, because you worked around all of those guys. Including, you was there before Boogaloo got there.
Oh, yeah, way before Boogaloo.
The part that I used to come down there on your show on Sunday with my first wife, we hadn't even got married yet. And come down there on Preston. KYOK hadn't moved on the branch at that time.
613 Preston Avenue.
That's what it was.
And people find it really hard to believe that I was there before Rick Roberts. Now, you know how long Rick Roberts was at KYOK.
That's what
I was there before him. When I was hired by a guy named Al Garner. This is the way it happened. Mike Payne, I had the good fortune to meet him. And I asked Mike, I said, Mike, is it anything I can do down there? Any type of job. That's how hungry I wanted to do this. I could sweep up and all that just to be around the mechanics of radio. And he said, Gene, I'll do better than that. I'll make you my junior disc jockey of the week. And what that was, Robert, as you know, was you go on the radio. They usually picked from high schools to do it. But you go on the radio for 15 minutes on a Saturday. And you do your little thing, and usually that's it. But if you're good, being the junior disc jockey of the week, they will allow you to come back and be the junior disc jockey of the month. And that meant you stayed on 30 minutes every Saturday, okay, for a month. My break came, and I would take time. I left nothing to chance. I would write everything down, even though I had in my head what I wanted to say, but I wanted it to be perfect. Mike Payne couldn't make it that day to operate the controls.
The control board.
The control board.
Right.
So Al Garner, who was the program director down there, doesn't make any difference that he was Caucasian working at an all-black radio station. But then again, it was, because you didn't find that a lot.
Right.
Mike, Al was, he was hipper than hip. He knew what was happening.
I used to listen to his show because him and Bob Garner used to have a show together.
Al G and Bob G, right?
Yeah.
So one Saturday, Mike couldn't make it, so Al had to sit in to do the control board for my show. I'm now junior disc jockey of the month now.
Right.
So I got 30 minutes. I don't know how many disc jockeys, if any, in the world remember the first thing they ever said on the radio. I remember the first thing I ever said. As I said before, we all had handles. Mike the Lover, we had Boogaloo, we had.
Well, at that time,
I mean, we all
right,
had handles.
Right, everybody had handles, right.
So
it was Wild
mine,
Child
said,
when you was there.
Well, Wild Child and Mike the Lover. Mike Payne was Mike the Lover. I said, who can I be? And I heard this record called Watch Out, Here Comes That Playboy, played by the Marvelettes. I said, I'm going to be Gene the Player. So the first words I ever said on the radio were the city councilman, the governor, and even the mayor all stopped their work to dig the player and went right into a tune. That knocked Al Garner for a loop. He loved that. And as I continued doing my show, at the end of the show, Al said, Gene, I like you. I like your style. I may can employ you. Don't be surprised if you get a phone call from me one night to tell you to come on down here. Of course, I took it as don't call me, we'll call you type thing. But one night, very late, it was around midnight, I got a call, and you know Al had that very distinctive voice. Gene, Al Garner. Why don't you come down here tomorrow? I got something for you. And that's how I started in radio.
Which was on the weekend.
It was on the weekend at first. It was on the weekend. I had Saturday night from 7 to 12 and Sunday from noon till 6. And on the weekend, it's a little bit more lax because during the week you got to go by the play schedule and what number they want you to play. And you got to play a top 10 record.
Format.
The format.
Right.
Exactly. But on the weekend, I had more freedom. I could play what I wanted to play. Right. And that's what I basically did. And from that evolved a regular radio show.
Okay, now, Gene.
Yes.
Before we we're gonna take a break.
Okay.
Now, when I came down there that one Sunday night, I'll never forget, man. And that's what raised me. By the way, Gene Robinson, man, you influenced me. You influenced Baby Dave, Thelma. You Sam Putney up there in Dallas with a #1 show. All of these people came from Third Ward, and we watched you as you laid the ground down for us.
Right.
To come behind you.
Right.
And as we laid the ground down for FM radio. Because when I was in radio, I worked, just show you how God worked. I worked the same shift you worked. Only different, I worked 2 hours extra. I worked from 12 to 8. But the thing about it, Gene, is that you have really laid down a lot of groundwork. That for young people to let them know that young blacks, they were doing things then. You even had your own editor. Because I know the strain that you, Zing Zang, I remember the time when I first knew, before I even got in radio, knew what it was about. I went down there with my first wife, and we was getting ready to be engaged in 1967, the summertime.
The KYOK?
At KYOK on Preston. On a Sunday night. And me and my lady, who I was engaged to, Gloria Waller, we went down there, and you told me, you say, Booley, man, this is a cold business. And I say, well, Gene, it look like it's an informant. It's an informant. He say, man, tomorrow morning, Chet McDonald ain't even know that he ain't even gonna have a job. We got a new disc jockey coming in to take his place Monday morning, man. I like Chet, man. And we got a new disc jockey that's gonna be doing the morning drive. And I said, what? So I got up that morning to listen to who was taking Chet McDonald's spot. And here Rick Roberts come on the radio.
Right.
I told Rick this before he died, man. Rick Roberts, I told Rick, I say, Rick, I knew I didn't know who you was, but I knew Chet was gonna be fired.
Right.
And you was gonna be the new DJ. Because when I put on my radio that Monday morning, that's who I heard, Rick Roberts and Rutabaga.
Okay, now, so many people, and I want to make this perfectly clear, those who do not know, that Rick Roberts and Rutabaga were the same person. There was not two people. Rick Roberts would talk like Rick Roberts, like you're listening to the Rick Roberts show. And then he would say, "Hey, Rutabaker, what you doing?" Like a ventriloquist would. And he would say, and Rick would say, "Oh, I ain't doing nothing, Rutabaker, trying to do my radio show. Well, Rick, can I help you?" Blah, blah, blah. You just have the bug. Dave Felder hung at the radio station, learning from me. And I don't mean to sound braggadocious, but that's what he was doing, and I didn't mind teaching. He would just hang. A lot of times he wasn't invited, he just hung.
I hung behind him the way he hung behind you.
Right, he hung behind me, and Dave was a very good jock. One night, Dave, I also grew up being a lot of people don't know this, a boxer. My father, we had all kind of gym bags, we had speed bags, heavy bags. I could box very well in my youth. And Dave wanted to slap box with me one night. And I knew I could take Dave because I could train. But Dave was too fast. Dave had a left hand that would go out so fast, before I knew it, I was slapped. So Dave, if you're listening, on that little scrim, we were just playing.
I talked to him last night,
you
man.
You
and we all
you
three of
beat
us
me.
gonna get together, Gene. You and Dave gonna get together, man. We're gonna come right here to Dennis.
Right.
And
right.
we all gonna sit here, man, and we're gonna talk about it because, but this is how I got started. Even Marvin Neal would say, "Man, what you around there acting like Eugene?" Because I used to see you, how you cut the thing down. I went home and started playing with my stereo.
Yeah,
and started acting like.
right.
He say, "Who you trying to be like Eugene, huh?" I say, "I don't know, man. I'll enjoy this." And then I started making 8-track tapes. And then I started talking on them 8-track tapes the way I see you, the way you was down there over there on Preston at KYOK.
Yeah.
Being my the lover, the player. So
And to this day, that's what they call me. Nobody calls me Eugene unless they went to elementary school with me, to Turner. Mm-hmm. Nobody else calls me Eugene. Some people call me Gene, but by and large, they call me Player. To this day. Now I'm a college grad, I've worked for Eastman Kodak, Revlon, I've been a pharmaceutical salesman. None of that matters. Nobody remembers none of that. All they remember is Gene the Player. And I'm thankful. As you know, in a radio station, you have a mail slot. All the disc jockeys have a mail slot where they pick up the mail. Mm-hmm. Mine was always bulging because most of my mail was from military people, a lot of it.
Right.
From Vietnam. We listen to you. We read your column, Gene. Or Gene, do a shout out for blah, 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 blah. And we had to be careful on that dedication line. Finally, we put in a delay system where we could hear what they were going to say before it went on the air. Because you had a lot of people that would say nasty things or things that were not
appropriate for the FCC.
Right. And I was happy when they put that in. But all I want to say, and I'll give it to you. In those days, see, today the people don't know how lucky they had it. I went to Prairie View. I wanted to be a radio then. Prairie View not only did they not have a radio station, they didn't even have a journalism department. I couldn't even get a journalism degree. I went to, of course, KTSU did not exist.
Right.
And I went down to Channel 11. Ray Conaway was the program director. I never will forget it. I wanted to be a newscaster, but Houston was not ready for that.
They wasn't.
And they told me in so many words, well, not in so many words, they told me nothing but discouraging things. Journalism is about writing and writing and writing. And he made it sound so dull and hard that he was hoping I would just give up on that idea. And I never did give up on the idea, but I saw what I was up against. Nowadays, you have